Well, good morning, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having a great day. Good to have you on with us, and we'll wait a moment. I want to do the roll call and say hello to a few folks. Holly, first one up this morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for coming on. And Patricia, nice to have you. And Andrea, Niagara Falls. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. Kevin, sunny Oshawa. Well, it's pouring rain today in Sudbury. Frida. Kathy, good morning. And Holly's from Kansas, and she said it's 100 degrees. Wow. Joan, good morning. Rita, Nouveau Brunswick. Jan, Wendy from Markham, good morning. Laura, how you doing? Maria. Bill, good morning. Carol, good morning. Marianne. Jeanette from our stop. Marion. And Judy. Newfoundland. Good morning, Newfoundland. Kate Breton. Evangeline. We appreciate you. April. Good morning. Jimmy. Brampton. Rita. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Carol. And Nick from our staff. And Dale. Waterloo. Donna. Park Hill. Dawn. Deb from Timmins. Good morning. Yolande. Bonjour. Sharon. And Patricia's telling us it's very hot in Florida. Michelle, Elmsdale, Ontario. Judy, and Brenda, sunny BC. Wanda, Virginia. Jocelyn, Baxter. Len and Judy, Edmonton, Alberta. Frank, good morning. Fran, Val-Caron. Joan, Frances Marie. She's waiting for a song. Jeanette, good morning. Milika, good morning. Another Donna, good morning to you. And again, we much appreciate Diane, how are you? And Mary. Okay, a couple of more. Saudi, how you doing? Debbie. And Diane. Good morning, everyone. Sandra from Brampton. Guys, good to have you on. Okay, let me ask you a question here. And I just been sort of thinking of this. Have you ever heard of chemo brain? Yeah, you probably have, right? Anybody that's undergone chemotherapy, which is not unusual afterwards, is they get what they call a chemo brain. Loss of, short-term memory, and, the brain just seems to be in a fog. So that's actually a medical term, chemo brain. You can Google it. But let me just say this, okay? Because I want to talk about the brain this morning, but chemo brain is, what is it? It's toxic, right? The brain is headquarters, and, you get chemotherapy, and obviously there's going to be some side effects, and one of them is called chemo brain. Again, not unusual. I've seen over the years hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients that went through chemotherapy, and most of them got some form of chemo brain. But you know what? We need today, in this day and age, talk about toxic brain. Doesn't necessarily come from chemo. Comes from the fact that the CDC tells us that very routinely, when they check people's blood, there are over 300 routinely, let me just read the quote from the CDC. 300 routinely detected chemicals in human blood. You and I live in a toxic soup. Toxic soup. You're not going to get away from it, okay? From pesticides to PCBs, dioxins, to heavy metals, flame retardants, all this kind of stuff is quite common in our blood. They've detected plastics from Mount Everest to the placenta. You're not going to get away from it. And what I want to talk about this morning is how to protect your brain. Protect your brain from these chemicals, okay? Now, two biggest connections are really important to understand. One is the gut-brain axis, okay? Not access, axis. The gut-brain axis and the liver-brain axis. If you guys get this, it will really help to diminish the toxins, the toxic bath that our brains take. A toxic bath. We live in a toxic environment. You know, let me just say this too, and I didn't like it. You know, because the masks that, you know, the plastic masks that were produced in the billions during the pandemic, that stuff's never going to disintegrate. It's in the oceans. It's in almost everywhere. It's just adding more plastic. Toxins. So, number one, we're all exposed to it. You don't have to wait for a chemo brain. We're all exposed to it. Now, let's talk about leaky gut and the brain. What happens? What is leaky gut? Remember, again, it's always important to go over this. Leaky gut is when the tight junctions, you have a little barrier between your gut and your blood. And it's microscopic. You can't see it. But it's really important that those tight junctions don't let any garbage into your bloodstream. Okay? Whatever doesn't belong in the blood. You know what belongs in your blood? Your food that's micro-sized. Your nutrients. Your vitamins. Your minerals. Your macros. You need those to get into your blood. And you want to have a tight junction, because when you have that tight junction of epithelial cells, what does that do? It keeps garbage out of your body. Now, what happens when your that little epithelial layer gets compromised? We talked about this, and we'll talk about it again, I'm sure. One of the major factors in a toxic brain is antibiotics. Meant to save your life, but they destroy the microbiome, and it compromises your, guys, let me use this illustration. Okay? I'm just telling you. Between Canada and the United States, there's a border there. You got border guards. And a lot of times they're miserable on both sides. Where are you going? How long are you going to stay? When are you coming back? When are you getting out of here? When you're going across into the States? I'm a Canadian. Americans coming up to Canada. Where are you going? How long are you going to stay? Blah, blah, blah. Right? There's a border there. Okay? Now, look, I don't want to be political, but in the United States, you have a northern border with Canada, right? You like us Canadians? I hope so. But on the southern border of the United States, it's in the news every day. People just walk across the southern border. True or false? True. Well, that is a picture of leaky gut. You got stuff coming across into the bloodstream, toxins that don't belong. And it happens when you don't have border guards. To me, that is, you know what I'm like. I need pictures in my head. I like analogies. That's the way I study. That's the way I learn. I like analogies. So, a border. Okay? And we have a good illustration of it. Canada, United States. It's pretty tough to get across unless you want to swim across. I mean, there's some areas that are easier to get across, but generally it's a very secure border between the United States and Canada, but not between Mexico and the United States. Right? Antibiotics compromise the border because they kill the border guards. Got it? Toxins get in. See, your body knows how to take care of toxins. It really does. It won't allow it into the bloodstream. And then, okay, so you have two borders in your body. Did you know that? Well, you guys know it, but let me repeat. You have your gut-blood barrier, right? Between your gut and your blood. But you have another barrier. It's called your blood-brain barrier. In the 1970s, okay, when I'm in school, we knew about the blood-brain barrier. There was medications that would go across the blood-brain barrier. Like, for example, I remember studying antihistamines. And even today, if you go to the pharmacy and you pick up Claritin or whatever, there's some of them. Read the box. You'll read, don't take this if you're driving. Why is that? Because some antihistamines and other medications go across the blood-brain barrier, and they can make you drowsy. Right? They go across the blood-brain barrier. That's how medication, not all of them, but a lot of them can affect your brain. Obviously, chemo brain. Right? We talked about that. It's a well-established medical term, chemo brain. But we all have to watch out for chemo brain, even without chemo, even without chemotherapy. Because, like I said, we've found CDC. Hey, not me. I didn't say it. Well, I'm saying it, but I'm telling you what the CDC tells us. That when they take blood samples, they find over 300 different chemicals in the serum. Yep. Pretty crazy, right? And that's why, look, I mean, let me just, one little short rabbit trail. When people tell me, well, doc, you know, I live out on the farm, we're 100% organic, and we don't, we don't have no chemicals, we don't use any chemicals, and we don't, and good for you. Good for you. I told you the story about a woman who came into my office. I'm leaving on a jet plane, and I don't know when I'll be back again. Do you remember that song? Well, she was leaving for Costa Rica and never coming back. She said, I'm going to live on an island there or something. Then I go, well, what? It sucks to be the rest of us. It's exactly what I told her. And you know what I felt like saying? The chemicals will find you there too. She was trying to get away from all the all the toxins in Canada. And I said, well, good luck with that. Now, we live in a world that I'm sorry, I don't care where you go. There might be less, but there's still lots. Okay, so now you have one of the biggest issues of allowing chemicals in your body is if you have leaky gut. Now, okay, get into the bloodstream. Now, let me say another thing before I talk about the liver-brain connection. Okay? So, do we all get the border thing between your gut and your blood? Okay? I'm not going too fast. You got it? Okay. Secondly, okay, and I won't spend a lot of time on this. When you put chemicals on your skin, not good. Not good. Now, true or false question? True or false question? Has Dr. Martin talked to us about not using sunscreens before? You bet your boots I've talked to you about that a lot. Because I've always said it, and now, do you know how many sunscreens have been recalled? Because they're carcinogenic. The worst thing you can do is put chemicals on your skin and then add heat. They're going to go right into your bloodstream. You don't, it's like Monopoly. You don't pass go. You don't have to go through the gut. You can go right through your skin. Chemicals plus heat. Sunscreens. I hate to be negative. When I see parents and grandparents lathering their kids up, I said, you're giving them a toxic bath. They're going right into your bloodstream. What's one of the ways now they're delivering medication? Patches. They put a patch on your skin. I saw someone the other day had a patch on their arm. I said, what do you got there? Nitro. Okay. You want to deliver medication rapidly? Put a patch on of medication. It'll go right into your bloodstream. And then what do? brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. The sun is the boogeyman. You're going to get cancer. And you try and change medicine's mind about that. You just can't. They're so ingrained, so indoctrinated with the use of sunscreen. I can't handle it. You're just putting all those chemicals in your body. And finally, the FDA hadn't put a stop to it, but they're recalling lots of sunscreens and said, come here, you're causing cancer. Well, holy moly. I never thought I'd see the day. And since the 1970s, I've been screaming about using sunscreens. Okay? Now, so you have leaky gut, leaky brain, skin. I've given you my little dissertation. Now 3, let's talk about the liver. And the liver-brain connection. This is really, really important, guys. Okay? Really important. Is the liver-brain connection. Now, your liver, okay? That's an important organ. It's sort of the Rodney Dangerfield. It doesn't get, because the liver is ugly. You ever seen a liver? It's ugly. And by the way, so are your other organs. But the liver, people, what? Like liver, The liver is a real important organ. And it's getting a lot more press than it used to. Because what we're seeing in the world today is an enormous jump in liver cancer. It's enormous. And I know why. Because at the Martin Clinic, what is the liver? What names do we give it? The Costco parking lot. Tony Jr. loves the minivan, packed with suitcases that you can't get another one when you're going on holidays with your family. Tony likes the minivan. Junior, I like the Costco parking lot. It's always full in this day and age. It's full of fat. It's full of fat. Because we're carboholics. We live in a carb-crazy world. What's that got to do with toxins? Well, here's what. When your liver is full of fat, and remember, again, like I give you some frightening statistics. Children have fatty liver. No symptoms. They don't know they have fatty liver. Doctors don't care if they have fatty liver, but they have fatty liver. A lot of them. And the liver gets full of fat because sugar turns to fat. Crappy carbs turn to fat. It's the Costco parking lot. It gets full of fat because that's one of insulin's favored place to store glycogen. Now, what's the connection between your liver and your brain? Well, when your liver is full of fat, 2 things happen. Well, more than 2, but let's, for today's purposes. 1, you know what fat does? Fat attracts toxins. Okay? So fat attracts toxins. So toxins build up in the liver. And secondly, and more importantly, your body makes glutathione. Now, what is glutathione? Glutathione is Velcro. Your liver makes it from it's a combination of 3 amino acids. Glutathione. Your body makes it, but not when your liver is full of fat. It can't make that Velcro. What is Velcro? Well, when heavy metals, plastics, pesticides, herbicides, blah, 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 come through your body, you have your gut, blood barrier, and you have your liver. The liver is a very important protective organ. The liver does a lot of things. We talk about producing triglycerides, HDL, cholesterol, made in the liver. Your liver is such an important organ. But if you, and when I say you, I don't mean you. I mean when people insist on being carboholics and sugarholics, especially high fructose corn syrup that takes a beeline to the liver becomes almost like a trap for toxins. And now you're not producing glutathione, and when you don't produce glutathione like you need to, you're in deep trouble when it comes to a toxic bath. Why do you think I talk about the reset all the time? You empty that liver. When you empty the liver, your body will make glutathione. When you eat steak, you make more glutathione. It's one of the reasons I love pine bark. You know, people ask me all the time, Doc, what do I do to detox my liver? Well, first of all, get off the sugars. Get off the crap. You know what crap is. And there's nothing that will elevate your glutathione more than pine bark extract. It's one of the reasons that I love it so much. It's sort of our flagship product. It elevates your glutathione. But glutathione is Velcro. That's the way, you know, like I said, I always love analogies. I love pictures. And in my head, when I think of glutathione, and I taught this for 40-something years, whenever I think of glutathione, I think of Velcro. Okay? I think of Velcro. Your body is a detox machine. You are unbelievably made, even for chemicals. The toxic soup that you and I live in, it's everywhere, man. It's in the air. You're never going to get away from it completely. You really won't. Unless you go with Elon Musk on his next trip to the moon or Mars or wherever he's going. You know, it makes me laugh in a way because, you know, anyway, I don't want to get into climate change or all this and that. And guys, anyway, Anyway, let's not go there because I'm just going to get a headache for nothing. We live in a toxic soup. You don't need chemotherapy. You're getting chemotherapy every day. Here's a blood test to find out if you got toxins in your body. Prick your finger. If it comes out red and your address ends with planet Earth, you are surrounded every day, 24 hours and 7, by toxins. They're in your kitchen. Every time, people spray, those chemicals, you go to a restaurant and they're so scared of the virus, they don't realize that they're going to get cancer from spraying the tables and the counters at the grocery store. And I see people going to get their groceries and they take out those wipes and they wipe their hands about 50 times. I said, you're putting those chemicals right in your bloodstream, my dear. I don't say it to them because they're going to kick me out. I shake my head. And coming to a theater near you is the amount of cancer we're going to, cancer's bad. You have seen nothing yet with all those chemical wipes, chemical sprays, chemicals on the skin, blah, blah, blah. Cancer coming. Rates will be unbelievable. I'm telling you. So what do you do? What do you do? It's so important. I tell people, you better protect your gut-brain barrier. Because, listen, even your blood-brain barrier, okay, your blood-brain barrier, I always, like I said, I like illustrations. So I sort of see an invisible barrier there between my blood and the brain. But if you don't have your microbiome, the connection between your blood and your gut and your blood and your brain is compromised, those chemicals are going to, here's what we know, okay? And I'll just bring you another thing, and without getting too into it. Do you know what Parkinson's is? It's chemicals in the brain. How did they get there? Blood-brain barrier. But even the gut. If the gut is compromised, the brain is compromised. What do you have in your body? The Canadian border, Canadian-American border, or the Mexican-American border? In your gut, in your brain. Because it's microbiome. What we found out about the blood-brain barrier, it's a friendly bacterial barrier. Oh, your body, how unbelievable. What happens microscopically is astounding. Friend, I'm just going to say something. If you don't believe in God, I can't help you. When I look at under a microscope, and I mean unbelievable. But your body has barriers. And it'll do everything it can to keep the toxins out of your brain. Your body knows what danger those chemicals are. Your body recognizes chemicals. They know, hey, so your defense mechanism is your gut. Your gut, leaky brain. Parkinson's. See the rabbit trails? I almost forgot about Parkinson's. Parkinson's, here's what they found. Massive amount of lead, mercury. How the heck does that get into your brain? Well, it travels from the gut to the brain via yeast, candida, fungus. Fungus is a carrier. It carries heavy metals, attaches to them. That's why I'm so big on not feeding yeast with sugar. Yeast is a teenager. It wants sugar. Or a kid that's hooked on sugar. See the connection? Plus. Okay? So what do? Parkinson's, MS. Why do we see so much, even in kids today? Why do we see so much brain cancer? You ever thought about that for a minute? I do. When I hear about a kid with brain cancer or whatever, it just breaks my heart. But those are little canaries in the coal mine. Because we pay the price for living in a toxic soup. You're not going to get away from it. So what do? Make sure that's the microbiome. That's why I'm so big on probiotics. I've been talking about this for a long time. Everybody and their dog ought to be taking probiotics. And the more broad spectrum it is, the more it tightens up the junction between your blood and your gut and your blood. And your blood-brain barrier. It rebuilds it. That's what probiotics do. It rebuilds those barriers. Then secondly, keep stuff off your skin that's a chemical as much as you can. And 3, keep your liver clean so that your liver will produce glutathione, the Velcro. Keep your liver clean. You keep it clean by not letting it fill up the Costco parking lot with fat coming from sugars and crappy carbs. So the CDC gives us some information, and I'm trying to make it practical so you guys understand where I'm coming from. Unless you're planning on leaving the planet, you're going to be exposed to a toxic soup. It's just the world we live in today. And good luck for that changing anytime soon. Okay. Enough pontificating for the day. Okay, what is Friday? I'm waiting. Question and answer. Get your questions in. Makes the show much more fun. Okay. Share this. Important message. Share it. On Facebook, if not, tell people to download the Doctor Is In podcast. Millions have, and we want you, your friends and family, to be able to enjoy the program. Okay, guys, we love you dearly. Talk to you soon.